In the brutal world of Westeros, justice is rare and often delayed. But when it comes, there's nothing quite as satisfying as watching those who deserve it finally pay their price. Welcome to our countdown of the top 8 most satisfying moments in Game of Thrones. At number 8, we have Arya Stark avenging the Red Wedding. The Red Wedding stands as one of television's most shocking betrayals. The slaughter of the Starks seemed to go unpunished for far too long, until Arya Stark returned to the twins. Disguised as a servant, Arya first serves Lord Frey a special pie, containing pieces of his own sons. The look on Walder's face when she reveals this horrifying ingredient before pulling off her disguise is absolutely priceless. With one slice across his throat, justice finally comes for the man who orchestrated the brutal slaughter of Robb, his pregnant wife Talisa, Catelyn, and countless loyal Northmen who were butchered under the sacred protection of guest right. As Walder Frey's blood pools beneath him, audiences everywhere felt the weight of Stark vengeance. After 3 seasons in the making, justice was finally delivered in full.
My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that. The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
At number 7, Tyrion killing Tywin. Tywin Lannister, a man so concerned with legacy he couldn't recognise his most capable child when he stood right in front of him. After a lifetime of abuse, mockery, and most recently his father sleeping with the woman Tyrion loved, the imp finally takes matters into his own hands. Finding Tywin in perhaps his most vulnerable position, Tyrion confronts the great lion with a crossbow.
I have always been your son.
The mighty Tywin Lannister, killed while sitting on a different kind of throne. There's poetic justice in watching the man who orchestrated the Red Wedding meet his end with 2 bolts to the chest while pooping. This moment perfectly represents the grief and anger of Tyrion, with a great level of satisfaction. At number 6, we have Olenna's confession. Lady Olenna Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns, lived up to her name right until the very end. When finally cornered by Jaime Lannister after the Lannisters defeated the Tyrells, Olenna is offered a merciful death by poison. But the Queen of Thorns wasn't about to go quietly. After calmly drinking her poison, she delivers one final devastating blow.
Tell Cersei, I wanted to know it was me.
With these words, she reveals she was the one who poisoned King Joffrey, Cersei's beloved son. Even in death, Olenna wins the game, turning what should have been Jaime's moment of triumph into one last victory for House Tyrell. At number 5, we have Viserys' death. Viserys Targaryen spent every moment reminding everyone of his right to the crown as the dragon. Entitled, cruel and willing to sell his own sister for power, Viserys makes his fatal mistake when he threatens a pregnant Daenerys at a Dothraki celebration, demanding his crown and breaking their sacred laws by drawing a blade.
I want the crown he promised
Khal Drogo's response? The look of realization on Viserys' face as molten gold is poured over his head gives us one of the show's first truly satisfying villain deaths, as Daenerys coldly observes. At number 4, Lady Mormont declares Jon Snow as the king in the north. Sometimes the most satisfying moments aren't deaths but triumphs, especially when they come from unexpected places. Lyanna Mormont, a 10 years old but with more backbone than men 3 times her age. After the Battle of the Bastards, as the Northern Lords hesitate to rally behind Jon Snow, this tiny powerhouse rises. With fierce conviction that would make grown men tremble, she shames the lords who refuse to fight.
But House Mormont remembers. The North remembers. We know no king but the king in the north whose name is Stark. I don't care if he's a bastard. Ned Stark's blood runs through his veins. He's my king, from this day until his last day.
Her passionate speech inspires every lord in that room to draw their swords and declare Jon the king in the north. For such a small package, Lady Mormont delivered one of the show's biggest and most satisfying rallying cries.
But you refused the call.
At number 3, we have Littlefinger's death. Littlefinger, who was called the Master Manipulator, the one who started the War of the Five Kings, betrayed Ned Stark and played everyone against each other while climbing the Chaos Ladder. For years we watched him scheme with apparent impunity, always 10 steps ahead of everyone else, which makes his complete blindsiding at Winterfell all the more delicious. Lured into a trap by the very Stark sisters he tried to turn against each other, Littlefinger suddenly finds himself on trial. As his carefully constructed facade crumbles, the man who once boldly claimed knowledge is power learns that Bran Stark knows everything.
You said I did warn you not to trust me.
You told our mother this knife belonged to Tyrion Lannister. But that was another one of your lies.
Watching the great manipulator reduced to begging on his knees before Sansa passes the sentence, and Arya executes it with his own dagger, the same one used in the assassination attempt on Bran, is justice served ice cold in Stark style. At number 2, the Purple Wedding. If any character deserved a gruesome end, it was Joffrey Baratheon, easily one of television's most hateful villains. After seasons of watching him torment Sansa, murder prostitutes, and exercise his sadistic tendencies on anyone weaker than himself, fans finally got their wish at the royal wedding. In the middle of humiliating his uncle Tyrion, the boy king takes a sip of wine and suddenly can't catch his breath. What follows is one of the most graphic and disturbingly satisfying deaths in the series. The sadistic king clawing at his throat, face turning purple, blood streaming from his nose and eyes. As Cersei cradles her dying son, viewers around the world raise their glasses in toast. And at number 1, the death of Ramsay Bolton. If Game of Thrones taught us anything, it's that there's always a bigger monster lurking around the corner. Enter Ramsay Bolton, the man who made Joffrey look like an amateur. After subjecting Sansa to unspeakable horrors, turning Theon into reek, flaying countless victims alive, and killing Rickon Stark, Ramsay finally meets defeat on the battlefield. Jon Snow's pulping Ramsay's face was pleasing, but it wasn't enough for what he deserved. That honour was rightfully reserved for Sansa Stark. In perhaps the most satisfying moment in 7 seasons, she turns Ramsay's own starved hounds against him.
Your words will disappear. Your house will disappear. Your name will disappear. All memory of you.
Sansa's cold promise, as she watches the architect of her nightmares devoured by his own creations, brings this countdown to a perfectly poetic conclusion. As she walks away with a hint of a smile while Ramsay's screams echo behind her, viewers everywhere couldn't help but smile along with her. Which Game of Thrones moment did you find most satisfying? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.